Hello, I'm Lindsay and I'm a virtual gardener, and today I'm going to talk to you about my Christmas cactus. This is a plant that I've had for 40 years, and when it first came to me it had a label on it saying Christmas cactus. I knew very little about them, and bless, since that time the poor thing has had all sorts of abuse, from too little water to too much water to moving house and moving within the house. But this is now here in my kitchen and has been here for some years. Care of the Christmas cactus is actually quite straightforward. In the main, it's reliant on light, water, and a bit of TLC here and there. So regarding light, this particular plant doesn't like to have direct sunlight. Its natural home is in Brazil, in the forests there, and in natural circumstances it would actually attach itself to trees. So it's quite used to having low light levels. Here in our kitchen we have a northwestern facing wall. So it's here in the corner. It gets light from both windows, but very rarely does it get any direct sunlight, except the odd bit in the summer when it's coming round to the end of the day. Too much sunlight will burn the leaves and turn them red. Too little sunlight and it won't thrive at all. So here, where it gets natural light but nothing too much, is great. Watering, well, watering is a little bit strange. As I say, they're a cactus and they're used to being in humid conditions in their natural habitat. So when I'm watering mine, I don't do it that frequently. In the main, I check them over once a week and see whether they need any. And you can do that quite easily by going in underneath and just seeing if it's damp or if it's dry. This particular plant has been in a clay pot for some time. They do like to be in a clay pot, and they do like to be in cramped conditions. They do like to be pot bound. It's almost as though they like to have that snuggly feeling. So this one, as I say, gets watered really when it needs it, every 1 to 3 weeks. It's a little bit more perhaps in the summer than it does in the winter. And I keep it in fairly small tray, so that I don't get tempted to put too much water in it. I have to say that a lot of people say that you should either water from the top or from the bottom. This one really doesn't mind whether it's watered either way. Humidity is quite important to these plants, and in the main, being in a kitchen helps that. Because we're cooking, so you've got boiling water, not all the time, but from time to time, and boiling a kettle, that sort of thing. It's enough to keep moist air here in the kitchen for this particular plant to thrive. Now, a lot of people will say to you that they need to have special compost and special feed for cactus. This one doesn't. This is living on general purpose compost, and actually when I take any cuttings they go into general purpose compost as well. As for feeding, well, I don't. But what I do is on the odd occasion, and it's infrequent, I substitute the water feed for tea. Don't ask me why, but they seem to like cold tea. Not too often, as I say, but on the odd occasion, they really enjoy having a drink of that. So now I'm going to show you some of the things I do to care for the plant after it's flowered. Flowering for this particular plant is generally November through to December, and in all the years I've always had beautiful blooms on it. One of the secrets I've found is not to move it, if you can possibly help it, around flowering time. The buds and the flowers are very delicate, and any change to their environment will actually make the flowers drop off. Indeed, they'll drop off when they're in bud, and that's always very upsetting when that happens. Once they've flowered, I tend to leave them for a few weeks just to let them have a bit of a rest, because it takes quite a lot out of them. So just give them a few weeks to just have that downtime. And then you can think about pruning and propagating. Pruning is very straightforward. Just have a look at your plant. The first ones to have a look at are the branches that are a little bit dry, and you'll find that the leaves come off quite easily if they're in that sort of situation. Now, it's quite natural for this to happen. It's not a problem at all. It's just part of nature. There's one there I can just about get to without disturbing too much of the other bits and pieces. So once you've taken the leaves off that are needing to come off for that reason, you can then look at the overall shape and see whether you need to bring that in a little bit more. You can take the leaves off quite easily by taking a piece like this and just gently pull it off. Now, I would do that gradually around the plant and just take off little bits at a time just to see how it changes the overall shape. Now, by taking one off there, I'm still leaving that little bit that could grow if I wanted to. At the same time, this one is a perfect shape to look at propagating for the next season. So we will put that one to one side. And just go around the plant doing that, not too heavily, but doing it gently, just until you get the shape that you want and it looks as though it's actually ready to start producing more leaves. Propagation, as I say, continues by popping the leaves into compost. If I look at last year's, this is one of the cuttings that I took last year, and it has in that time grown that much. Indeed, I had 6 very successful cuttings from them last year. Believe me, they don't always grow, so don't be disappointed, but last year seemed to be a really good year. And it's very straightforward. You just take a leaf, pop it into the pot and put it about halfway down through the bottom leaf. Keep it moist but not wet, and just let it sit on a windowsill in a similar area to the main cactus so that it gets light but not direct sunlight, and leave it there for a few weeks, because by that time it should have rooted and start to grow. If you've enjoyed this video and find it useful, then please like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you get notified of any future uploads. If you have any questions about this particular plant, then please pop them in the comments section below and I'll do my best to answer them. Meanwhile, I've got a question for you. As I said earlier, this plant is 40 years old. Can you beat that?